Welcome back to Ledger and Crime. Today we're covering a case that holds a unique place in financial crime history, not just because of the scale of the fraud, but because it happened entirely in public, on YouTube, in front of millions of people who were cheering it on. From an AML perspective, BitConnect is one of the most textbook Ponzi structures ever constructed, and the red flags were visible from day one to anyone who knew what to look for. In 2017, the cryptocurrency market was experiencing something the world had never seen before. Bitcoin went from under $1,000 in January to nearly $20,000 by December. Ethereum exploded. New coins were launching every week. Retail investors who had never bought a stock in their lives were pouring their savings into digital assets. The market was euphoric. And into that euphoria stepped BitConnect. BitConnect was launched in 2016 by Satish Kumbhani, a 36-year-old Indian national. The platform's pitch was simple and extraordinarily bold. Give us your Bitcoin. We will put it into our proprietary trading bot. The bot will generate profits from Bitcoin's volatility, and we will pay you guaranteed returns of up to 1% per day, which compounded annually works out to over 3,700%. If that number sounds impossible, it is. No trading algorithm in the history of financial markets has ever generated consistent daily returns anywhere near 1%. Not Goldman Sachs, not Renaissance Technologies, not anyone. The moment you see a guaranteed return that high attached to any investment vehicle, you are looking at a Ponzi scheme. That is not speculation, it is mathematical fact. But in the middle of a crypto bull market where Bitcoin had just returned 1,300% in a single year, 1% per day did not sound crazy to retail investors. It sounded like just another Tuesday in crypto. And BitConnect used that psychology brilliantly. The platform was structured with multiple tiers. You could invest as little as $100 or as much as $100,000. The more you invested, the higher your guaranteed returns. And critically, you earned commissions for recruiting new investors. This is the second defining characteristic of a Ponzi scheme. The entire system depended on a constant inflow of new money to pay existing members. BitConnect's promotional machinery was unlike anything the financial crime world had seen before. The company held massive conferences in cities around the world: Mumbai, Bangkok, London, Dallas. These were stadium-scale events with lights, music, and an atmosphere closer to a religious revival than a financial seminar. Promoters would take the stage and testify about how BitConnect had given them financial freedom. One promoter named Carlos Matos delivered a speech at a 2017 conference in Bangkok that went viral. His screaming of BitConnect's name into the microphone became one of the most recognizable memes in cryptocurrency history. And behind that meme was a $2.4 billion fraud. The promotional network was the engine of the scheme. BitConnect recruited YouTube influencers to promote the platform to their audiences. Channels with hundreds of thousands of subscribers posted testimonial videos promising viewers that BitConnect was the future of finance. Promoters like Glenn Arcaro, BitConnect's lead national promoter in the United States, built entire downlines of investors and earned commissions on everything those investors put in. Arcaro alone admitted to earning over $24 million in commissions. The compliance failures here are staggering. BitConnect was operating an unregistered securities offering in the United States. It had no registration with FINRA or the SEC. Its trading algorithm, the entire basis for its promised returns, was never independently verified by any third party. There was no audited financial statement. There was no transparency of any kind. Any licensed compliance professional reviewing this platform would have flagged it immediately. And yet, major banks processed transactions related to BitConnect without raising alerts. By late 2017, the warnings were getting louder. Ethereum's founder Vitalik Buterin publicly called it a Ponzi scheme. Prominent crypto voices raised alarms. The UK's Companies House issued a strike-off notice in November 2017. Then in January 2018, the Texas State Securities Board issued an emergency cease and desist order, citing unregistered securities offerings and misleading claims about guaranteed returns. North Carolina followed. Within days, Kumbhani shut down the lending program and BitConnect collapsed. The price of BitConnect coin, which had reached $463 at its peak, fell 92% overnight. Investors who had locked their money into the platform watched it evaporate in hours. The loans were supposedly repaid in BitConnect coin, which was now essentially worthless. Millions of investors across more than 95 countries lost everything. The money laundering operation that followed the collapse was sophisticated. According to the DOJ indictment, Kumbhani and his co-conspirators laundered the fraud proceeds by commingling, cycling, and exchanging funds through a cluster of cryptocurrency wallets and multiple internationally based exchanges. This is classic layering, moving money through enough transactions across enough jurisdictions to make it difficult to trace. Kumbhani fled India and became a fugitive. As of today, his whereabouts remain unknown. Glenn Arcaro pleaded guilty in September 2021 to conspiracy to commit wire fraud. He was sentenced to 38 months in prison and ordered to pay $17 million in restitution to approximately 800 victims. In February 2022, a federal grand jury in San Diego indicted Kumbhani on charges of conspiracy to commit wire fraud, commodity price manipulation, operating an unlicensed money transmitting business, and conspiracy to commit international money laundering. He faces up to 70 years in prison, if he is ever found. As of 2026, U.S. authorities are still pursuing restitution for victims, with ongoing efforts to recover Bitcoin linked to top promoters. 8 years after the collapse, thousands of investors are still waiting to see any of their money returned. BitConnect is a masterclass in how a Ponzi scheme operates in the digital age. The mechanics were identical to Bernie Madoff: guaranteed returns funded by new investor money, with no underlying legitimate business generating real profits. The only difference was the delivery mechanism. Instead of a prestigious New York office, it was YouTube videos and cryptocurrency conferences. The fraud was just as devastating. The warning signs were all there from the beginning. Guaranteed returns of 1% per day. No third-party audit of the trading algorithm. A recruitment structure that rewarded bringing in new investors. Unregistered with every major securities regulator. If you understand those 4 red flags, you can protect yourself and the people around you from the next BitConnect, because there will always be a next one. Subscribe to Ledger and Crime for new financial crime cases every week. Because the criminals never stop, and neither do we.